Here is the weekly market recap brought to you by El Castillo Investments. The EU is under pressure after President Trump announced steep new tariffs, 20% on EU goods and 25% on steel, aluminum, and cars. In response, EU President Ursula von der Leyen proposed a zero-for-zero tariff deal to ease tensions. However, internal disagreements and the threat of $28 billion in EU counter-tariffs are complicating talks. Meanwhile, semiconductor stocks bounced back slightly after earlier losses tied to the tariffs. Nvidia rose 3.5%, and the sector gained overall. Still, analysts remain cautious due to weak demand and economic uncertainty. Soon after, markets surged as President Trump announced a 90-day pause on new tariffs for dozens of countries, excluding China. The S&P 500 jumped 9.5%, the Nasdaq over 12%, and the Dow had its best day in years. But, with talks still ahead and key nations left out, volatility remains high. At the same time, China raised its tariffs on U.S. goods to 125%, calling Trump's policy a joke. Beijing warned it won't respond to further U.S. hikes and is now rallying support from other trade partners. Analysts warn that trade between the two largest economies could become nearly impossible under such high duties. Following the U.S. move, the EU also paused its planned retaliatory tariffs for 90 days. Von der Leyen called for dialogue but warned tariffs could return if talks fail. Despite the pause, key duties remain, and the EU is exploring broader trade partnerships. And finally, JPMorgan beat earnings estimates with strong Q1 results, but CEO Dimon issued a stark warning. He said the economy is facing considerable turbulence driven by trade wars, inflation, and policy uncertainty. Despite strong numbers, major banks are bracing for a slower 2025 and preparing for a wide range of possible outcomes. That's all for this week. For more updates and investments insights, follow us at El Castillo Investments.